We have just 1 hour to go in the year 2024 before we ring in 2025. So I figured, why not jump on, do a little bonus show in addition to the Wednesday Night Live extravaganza. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk a little bit of everything, and we're going to talk about what's on your mind. I'm going to make my predictions for all 10 pro sports teams. We'll do that. Take some calls if anybody's interested in hanging out, and we'll ring in the new year together. So it is New Year's Eve. It is 11 p.m. And guess what? We are live. Welcome everybody to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wa2K99. Thanks for joining me tonight. New Year's Eve 2024. I have come dressed for the occasion, as I like to dress for the occasion now and then. So we have taken care of that. But you know, the funny thing with this whole virtual background thing, all I really need to do if I want to take the hat off, I don't even need to remove the hat. Just basically do this. And you wouldn't even know it's still on my head, or is it on my head? So, all right. Hey, David D, glad you're here, man. Hope you're having a good New Year's Eve. Hope everybody's having a good time. You know, the whole deal. Stay safe, have fun, all that great stuff. Kept a kind of a quiet night. I think I pretty much got home 4 in the afternoon and haven't gone anywhere since. So, yeah, just, I don't know. New Year's Eve's never been all that big of a deal for me, but you know, that's okay. I think it's one of those things where, I don't know, it's almost like there's pressure to have fun on certain days, like on New Year's Eve and on your birthday more than anything. And I don't know. I think about the most memorable one I've had was my senior year of high school, when about 35 of us went down to Orlando, had a big bonfire, New Year's Eve with sparkling cider, s'mores, all that good stuff. So, but yeah, it was high school senior. It was nothing like that. But it was a good time. But yeah, not too many. Well, there's the other thing I could talk about, but I'd probably get canceled if I did. Let's just say it involved a costume party and dressed as your favorite famous person. And I dressed up. Yeah, if I showed you the pictures, I'd get canceled because what I did then is not in vogue now. So maybe we'll talk about that later. Maybe we won't. Maybe if we get enough likes. I don't know. All right, so guys, here's what kind of what we're planning to do at this point. I'm going to spend some time doing my predictions for. I'm going to go through 10 New York sports teams. We'll still be doing our regular Wednesday night show at 6 o'clock on January 1st, so certainly come back for that. So we'll do the predictions for a little bit, but I put the StreamYard link if you would like to join in for the show tonight. And after I do the predictions, if anybody wants to hop in, or anybody wants to just talk about whatever's on your mind, whether it's jet related, something else related, just whatever you want to talk about, we could do that for a little bit. And yeah, we'll probably just hang out till the ball drops, and yeah, bring in the new year together. So that's pretty much what we're gonna do. Very low key. I don't have a huge script or anything like that. Don't have a ton of notes. Just a few things on the predictions. So tonight's a very free-flowing show for a change. So let's get into these predictions right now. I'm just going to get the WNBA out of the way immediately. Liberty win a second straight championship. Okay, I made a WNBA prediction. I can't believe I actually did it. On to hockey. So as far as hockey goes, actually, you know what? We can have a little fun with some of the backgrounds here, I think. So let's, I think I still got something Islander related here. Yeah, there we go. So I will say for the New York Islanders, they will start selling off assets, and they will start doing that before the trade deadline on March 8th. They currently have a record of 14, 16, and 7. They have the same exact issues that they did last year. They are having a lot of troubles putting the puck in the net, and they have an amazing tendency to blow leads. They amazingly 7 losses in overtime or the shootout, and this was the same thing that was happening to them last year and cost them a much better seed potentially in the playoffs. So this is still a huge issue. I think this team is last wild card and done at best. I think Brock Nelson gets traded. Their captain, Anders Lee, I think he could get traded too, but this team is going to miss the playoffs. I just don't see this team being good enough to make it. And as far as the New Jersey Devils go, well, they lead the Atlantic Division right now, but they have played 3 games more. 3 games more than Washington and Carolina, who are basically trailing them in the Metro Division standings. It was very easy to expect a bounce-back season from New Jersey. The fact that they upgraded their goaltender, the fact that they Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier dealt with injuries last year, they came back. You have a full season of Luke Hughes. They upgraded the defense, which they needed to do. Tom Fitzgerald and the front office did exactly what they needed to do. They addressed the weaknesses and didn't compromise on the positives. So, job well done by their front office. I can't bust their chops about it. I really, really can't, much as part of me would like to. So I think as far as the rest of the season goes, I think they make it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and lose to Florida. There's been a tendency for the last 10 years or so that Florida teams tend to beat New York area teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And now I think it's time for the Devils to find out how that goes. Now, as far as the other team, we'll call them a hockey team that plays in the metropolitan area, we know that they've been dead for a long time now. Okay? The New York Rangers have been an absolute train wreck. I predicted 3rd in the division at the beginning of the year, and they'd be eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. I never expected them to make the New York Jets actually look competent. But that is exactly what's happened. They've already started trading assets. Jacob Trouba is gone. Kaapo Kakko's gone. It feels like the last time they won a game. Oh my gosh! It feels like it's been forever since they even had a winning streak. But boy, it has been super frustrating. I couldn't even tell you the last time I turned a Ranger game on, and I usually don't miss games. Rarely. But my gosh, it is just pathetic what they have done. So here's what I think they're going to do. I think Artemi Panarin could get traded. He has 1 year left at $11.6 million. I know a lot of these players have no movement clauses, but if I'm them, why the hell do I want to stay with this franchise? Why? The Rangers are a last place team in the division. Never in my sickest dreams did I imagine that would happen. And also, if you look at the position, Panarin plays left wing. You still have Alexei Lafreniere, Will Cooley, Brennan Othmann coming up. That position is already loaded. I feel like the Rangers are a very wing-heavy team. Now, I'm not saying that's their fault. They signed Panarin. Who knew the next year they would finish second in the draft lottery? They get Kakko. Next year they win the draft lottery. They draft Lafreniere. So all of that has happened. Then Cooley emerged. Othmann emerged. Those are their top 2, and those are their top 2 prospects. So it's time to balance this roster out a little bit, get some more help in the middle, get some more help on defense, which they sorely need. Okay, they only have one. I think they only have one defenseman under contract after this season, and that's Adam Fox. Miller, Lindgren, restricted free agents. Everybody else, I believe, is unrestricted. So this team needs a lot of help on defense, to say the least. Ryan Lindgren, I believe, will be traded. As far as the future of the coach and the general manager, Chris Drury, Peter Laviolette, I'm worried Laviolette, he had a tendency for getting off to good starts, but the message kind of wears off as the year goes on or the next couple of years go on. I can't kill him for this because, let's be honest, this core has got rid of a lot of head coaches. And, even some that I thought were actually good. I didn't think Gerard Gallant was a terrible head coach. Flawed, absolutely. But how many more chances does this core get? Sometimes, eventually you realize when it's the same players again and again and again, maybe it's not the coach. But this to me, the Rangers had a good run for 20 years, a very good run for 20 years. It's just like the Knicks from the late 80s to the early 2000s, where they were always in contention, made the playoffs constantly. They get to a final, maybe two finals even, but they never won the big one, and that makes the whole run bittersweet. Because ultimately, if at some point you don't win it all, you never had that true moment of triumph, it's just going to feel hollow inside. It just feels hollow. I think they're heading into the abyss. I think you are looking at a 1998 to 2004 run, the days of Brian Trottier as head coach, John Muckler as head coach, when the team's biggest stars were guys like Eric Lindros, Bobby Holik, guys like that. I'm very, very worried about where the New York Rangers are headed. Very, very worried. And you have a lot of big contracts on the book now that you're not getting rid of. Igor Shesterkin, Adam Fox, Lafreniere, Vincent Trocheck, Chris Kreider's got a few years left. How much room is there really to maneuver? How can they really change things? I don't know if it's going to happen. David D. Wayne Gretzky for Canadian Prime Minister. Well, I mean, would he really be a downgrade? You know, U.S.-Canada relations would be very good. His wife is American, after all. All right, so that's as far as hockey goes. Now, we'll go over to basketball. Of course, I'm saving football for the very, very end. So, let's switch that out. And, let's stay in the Garden, but a little different background there. So, with the Brooklyn Nets, well, they've already started trading players off, trading Dorian Finney-Smith in a package for D'Angelo Russell and some draft capital. Currently, the Nets are 7th in the lottery odds. Right now, I'll tell you what. Here's my prediction. Nets finish in the top 3 in the draft lottery. The Nets are in the middle of a full-blown rebuild to the point where the average basketball fan can't name 3 players on their team. I know I can. Okay, but as of right now, the odds are 50%, better than 50%. They either stay at 7 or drop. I'm going to say fortune shines on the Nets here, and they finish with a top 3 pick in the lottery and get a piece to speed up the rebuilding process. As far as the Knicks go, I'm going to say, I'm going to get a little bold here. I'm going to say they win the Eastern Conference. The depth is just that good. They shoot free throws as well as any team. They play very, very good defense. Their defense is actually top 10 in the league. Mitchell Robinson on his way back in the next few weeks. That will improve the team defense and rebounding even more. The outside shooting can be a little bit inconsistent, but you know what? If one player's off, you have plenty of other guys who can pick up the slack. Like the other night, if Jalen Brunson's not shooting well, Josh Hart, he comes through with a triple-double. Karl Anthony Towns, he can shoot from deep. OG Anunoby put in 18 points, 8 rebounds. By the way, it is now 1 year and 1 day since the Knicks made what was then a pretty controversial trade, trading R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quigley for OG Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa. Don't forget Precious Achiuwa and what a valuable piece he has been to this team's depth after they've lost Isaiah Hartenstein with Mitch Robinson being injured again. I mean, when is he not injured? But man, oh man, they needed Achiuwa, and since he's been back, it has been much, much better. But to me, this is the best Knicks team I've seen since probably 1997 or 98. Going back to the team that had Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, John Starks, Allen Houston, Larry Johnson. I think the team is on that level of depth. I really do. And I'm not even getting into – and December was an amazing month. They only lost 2 games. I know they played a soft schedule. But again, you got to beat the teams that are on your schedule, and that's what they did. They just came off a 3-game and 4-night span, and they looked fantastic doing it. And that doesn't necessarily mean winning wire to wire every night, but it does mean that when it's time to put a game away, you're able to do it. And that's what they did to Washington in Capital One Arena. Sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm a little bit further away from D.C. than I used to be. Okay, and on to baseball. Let's switch. Let's switch the background here. Yeah, let's go to the Bronx. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a little bit of sunshine there. All right, so as far as the New York Yankees go, I'm going to say the Yankees win back-to-back AL pennants. Now, I don't love the Paul Goldschmidt signing. I think his best days are behind him, but I really like adding Cody Bellinger, Max Fried, and Devin Williams, certainly for the short term. Williams has the 1 year. I know Fried's going to be here 8 years, but short term, I think it'll work out very well. It's really more about the American League is just terrible. Baltimore took a step back last year. Tampa Bay is – I don't know what you can expect from Tampa Bay. I know they have this tendency to overachieve, but what can you expect from them? Their ballpark was destroyed by the hurricane. They're playing on a minor league field. I mean, is that going to work to their advantage? I don't know. Boston's not there yet. They're still, I feel like they're kind of going through a retooling process. Toronto can't get out of its own way. I mean, there are teams in that division who really had a chance to step up, and they have failed thus far. If you're a Yankee fan, who else really scares you around around the American League? Cleveland? Houston, who lost Kyle Tucker and will lose Alex Bregman? Seattle? Good starting pitching staff, but can they get a bat in that lineup? Who really scares you in the American League? But here's the thing. A pennant's not going to be enough. I hate to use championship or bust, but for the Yankees, that's what it comes to. Your minimum expectation, the minimum, should be to win another AL pennant. So as far as the New York Mets are concerned, let's go. Yeah, let's flip that over to Queen. Oh, there's the Devils, right? Okay, there we go. All right, let's flip that over to Citi Field. I'm going to predict Pete Alonso does sign with the Mets for 5 years for $150 million. Yeah, that's right. I think he gets $30 million a year, and I think there'll be an opt-out in the contract after 3 years. That will make him the league's highest-paid third baseman at $30 million a year. The report last week was the Mets offered him 3 years, $90 million, and that Alonso rejected it. Well, this is the same AAV, highest paid first baseman in baseball. Ego would be good, and the Mets don't want to commit to him for too long. Clearly, Alonso wants more than 3 years, so I think 5 years is fair. If you have to shift him over to DH, you can do that at that point. But I cannot go any further than 5 years. Now, Alonso has already rejected 7 years, but the AAV on that deal was around $22 million, $23 million, somewhere in that area. So it's going to take a lot more than that to get his name on a contract. But the first basemen are pretty much off the market at this point. I mean, Christian Walker, Carlos Santana, Josh Bell is now off the market, Paul Goldschmidt as well. After Alonso, who's left? Who's left to sign? Justin Turner, who's like my age, Anthony Rizzo, who last year looked all but done, Ty France, Joey Gallo, enough said. I mean, is there any New York baseball fan who hasn't ripped Joey Gallo yet? I mean, the Mets plan B probably would be Mark Vientos at first and, shifting him to first base, which is not necessarily easy to do. And then you sign Alex Bregman, put him at third base. But here's the thing. Bregman is going to have more potential suitors than Alonso. Bregman's not going to wait around forever. I could see a scenario where Bregman signs a contract before Alonso, and that would be a concern. That's why it's in the Mets' best interest to get the deal done soon. And again, I'm not blaming David Stearns for this. I think just as much blame would go on Scott Boras for overestimating the market, and you got to blame Alonso to an extent for hiring Scott Boras. Boras' track record as of late has not been good. Some of his recent clients, they have not gotten the contracts that they expected. So, hey, maybe Scott Boras is losing a little bit of the Midas touch. I don't know. Just saying it is possible. Yeah. For those just joining us, yes, I'm in a very festive mood. Happy New Year's Eve. We've got about 40 minutes to go until the drop of the ball. All right, let's go back to MetLife Stadium. I see the great Johnny Jimenez is here. Johnny with some predictions. Mets win the World Series. Jets make the playoff. Wait. The Jets are going to do what? The Jets, what did you say they were going to do? The Jets are going to make the playoffs?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Yep, the playoffs. Rangers taking the cup. What cup would that be? Are you talking about like the Kitchener Rangers up in Ontario, Canada? Maybe they win whatever cup they have up there. Maybe there's a soccer team in Europe, I think, named the Rangers. Maybe they win a championship. Sure as hell like this team. Knicks win the championship. If I had to bet on one team, I did a prediction video. I sort of ranked like the 9 teams in the 4 major sports, the most likely team to win a championship. And I think I put the Yankees around 5th or 6th. I put them pretty low, even though they got to a World Series. I just think they were a deep enough team. And my top team was the New York Knicks. And I still think that is very fair to say. I think the Knicks are the most likely team. Of course, I had the Rangers a lot higher than I would now. Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, I think if there's one team that could do it right now, it's probably the Knicks. And, of course, the Mets offseason is not over, John. So let's see what they wind up doing. Personally, with the Mets, you need another corner infield, no doubt about it. You need another piece off the bench, like Jose Iglesias. Maybe not him specifically, but you'd like to have somebody else there on the bench. And then I think you need 2 relief pitchers. I think you need a setup man. You need a lefty. You might even want a long man. Now, that could be Tyler McGill if it comes to be that way. But the one thing the Mets never did last year was replace Brooks Raley when he went down for the year. They never had that really good lefty. I don't expect it to be Tanner Scott. He's going to look for a closer's job. But I think A.J. Minter, formerly of the Braves, would be great. Bring back Ryan Stanek. I'd be game for that. Or we know that David Stearns likes these reclamation projects. Jose Leclerc from the Texas Rangers. I could see that being the kind of move that he makes as well. All right. But certainly this team is not complete at all. But hey, they are close. They're very, very close. And one other thing I will say, I've seen some people say on social media, Mets are still a third place team. I don't care what place they finish. It's irrelevant to me. The only thing I care about, make the playoffs and be healthy, go from there. Because how many times have we seen teams get knocked off who had first-round buys? It happens frequently. All right, let's go on to the NFL. But by the way, how bad is the NFL this year? You got 9 teams with 4 wins or less going into Week 18. And, of course, 2 of them reside in the great city of New York area. Oh, my gosh. The last 3 years had no more than 5 teams in that situation with 4 wins or less. So it's like the teams that there's a lot more stink this year in the NFL than there has been previously. But as far as the New York football Giants go, well, one of the biggest uncertainties, one of the biggest questions right now in the NFL, do the Giants bring back Brian Daboll as head coach, and do they bring back Joe Shane as their general manager? I'm going to say they do keep them. As a Jets fan, I hope they do, because I want as few teams as possible looking for general managers and head coaches. All right? The Giants are going to be, they're going to have a better draft pick than the Jets. I think the Jets have the better roster, but the Giants will have more of a clean slate, more cap room to work with. So I don't want to have to be competing with the Giants for a coach and a GM. But Shane and Daboll have not had a chance to pick their own quarterback. I think that's important. I think they deserve that opportunity. They inherited Daniel Jones. I think that's very important for us to keep in mind. But as far as the draft goes, I think that New England takes Travis Hunter to start. Then Tennessee and Cleveland take the top 2 quarterbacks in Sanders and Ward. And then number 4, I think the Giants are going to take Will Johnson at quarterback, because that secondary needs to be addressed in the worst way. Johnson looks like he is going to be a star in the making, and we know the Giants secondary has been horrific this year. And I think then the Giants are going to bring in a quarterback via trade or free agency. They're going to try to do the Sam Darnold thing like Minnesota did. That kind of a deal. Maybe they even sign Sam Darnold. And if Minnesota keeps him, maybe they try to make the trade for J.J. McCarthy. Put it this way, if I'm Minnesota, I can't imagine having both Darnold and McCarthy on the roster next year. It's just hard for me to imagine. All right. Now, as far as the wonderful New York Jets go, got to make my prediction on them. And, of course, we'll talk about a whole lot of things in the Jets offseason as the weeks go on. By the way, next Wednesday, I'll be doing an end-of-the-season award show for the New York Jets. So next Wednesday, that'd be January 8th, will be the Jets award show. So I've got a whole bunch of categories planned as of right now. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that. But I predict for the offseason, I think I'll do like a full off-season prediction show in the next 2 weeks. But I do predict the Jets will hire as general manager. Right now, this is just instinct. I have no evidence on this. I'm just going with it. I'm going to say the Jets hire Ray Agnew as their GM. They're going to take him away from Detroit. They're going to want to take away an assistant from a very good program. I could see it being him or the guy from Kansas City, Mike, the guy whose name I can't really quite say off the top of my head. But I'm just going to say it's Ray Agnew. Say the Jets go that direction. And Ray Agnew, in turn, brings in Aaron Glenn to be head coach. Now, would I be thrilled with Aaron Glenn as head coach? I wouldn't be turning cartwheels over it. I don't want a first-time coordinator and a first-time defensive coordinator, even less do I want as head coach. But at least Aaron Glenn is very well respected. He's very, very tough. He's known for holding players accountable, which the Jets desperately need to do. And we have not seen that at all from Robert Saleh, and even less from Jeff Ulbrich. So I think after the Jets try and fail to get Vrabel, Flores, guys like that, remember, the Jets have this mindset. They got to be able to sell to the fans their hires, their moves. They got to sell it. So when they don't get the big guys, they're going to try to go with familiarity. And so to me, Aaron Glenn makes the most sense. So that's what I'm thinking as far as that goes. Just a couple of player moves as well. I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to throw the link down here in the bottom of the chat. If anybody wants to hop on, say hello. So the StreamYard link is right down there if you'd like to come on. Don't even have to turn your camera on if you don't want, but the link is right there if you'd like to join the show tonight. Probably hang till, just after midnight. Hey, Grandizer. Hey, good to see you, man. Drop the ball with Ryan Seacrest and Adam of the WickerMedia 321. Baba Booey to you and your wonderful viewers. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I still miss Dick Clark, though. Yeah, Ryan Seacrest is like everywhere. Yeah, I definitely remember the old Dick Clark rockin' New Year's Eve shows from way back when. But yeah, it's funny to me that some people have the whole ball drop in Times Square as a bucket list item. I mean, you got to get there at like 3, 4 in the afternoon probably. And then once you're there, you ain't moving. You ain't eating. You ain't getting to the bathroom. You got to wear a freaking Depends diaper if you're going to pull that off, okay? Yeah. Not my thing at all. Plus, you're probably freezing because the temperature is going to be anywhere from 0 to 30, 35. It ain't going to be pleasant outside. But, hey, some people love to do it, and God bless them for it. I missed a cartoon. I was going to say, have you been there to Times Square? No. I have been in New York City during New Year's Eve years ago, but no, I was not in Manhattan that night. I was in Queens on that one particular night. That would have been 2013, I want to say. Probably 2013. But I think that was my only time in New York City. Again, not too many memorable New Year's Eve days. So, and a reminder, hit that thumbs up, guys. Let's spread the word out. Please hit that like button. It definitely helps the channel, and I appreciate everybody's support. Channel continues to, channel's growing, steady but sure. Met some people on my trip. For those who don't know, I was away, which is why we didn't do the show last Wednesday. Didn't have my equipment with me, but I did get to chat with a few people and even convinced a few people to subscribe. And we are now just, if you can believe it, 8 away. We are at 992 subscribers, 8 away from hitting that elusive 1,000 mark. It's taking some time. My old Army roommate overseas is a New York cop. He said after the ball drops and the camera turns off, they heard people out of. I can imagine. I can only imagine what the subways and buses are like at that point. Put it this way: get a hotel because I know they're going to be expensive as hell. But, oh, my gosh, I wouldn't even want to deal with the aggravation of trying to get out of there and then getting home at 2, 3 in the morning. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I'll pass. It happens about 40 minutes. The place is cleared up and the cleaning crew comes in. I would not want that job. I will pass on that. Yeah, David, 8 away. Yeah. Met a couple people from Wisconsin. It was funny. I met a guy, like all these folks are in their mid-20s. I met one dude, his fiance, and his sister. and they're all there together. It was Jake, Addie, and Maddie. I thought it was a law firm. It was pretty fun. It sounded like a Disney show. I mean, like Maddie, Addie, and Jake. It's like a kids group or something. But yeah, when they found out I was a Jet fan, we had a nice long talk about Aaron Rodgers. A long talk. And they said, yeah, it's like, he's a little bit too much about himself and all that kind of stuff. And, it takes all these chances because it's about him. I said, didn't you just describe Brett Favre? And they were like, good point. Yeah, but the three of them all decided to join, which is really nice. I think they want me to do some Packers content, but I don't know if I'll be doing too much of that unless it pertains to us. But but it was really cool. We did we did some NFL trivia on the boat as well, which was a very interesting time. We wound up in a very big debate, which is the older. I talked about this on Sunday, but for anybody who wasn't there, we talked about one of the questions was, what is the oldest currently used NFL stadium? I'm paraphrasing, but you get the gist of the question. What is the oldest stadium that is currently being used for NFL football, basically? And I was convinced it was Soldier Field. I lived in Chicago for 2 decades. I know it was built in the 1920s. I never went there for a game or anything, but I've been inside the stadium a couple times. I know it was built in the 20s. And that was the only thing I even thought of. Now, they said the right answer was Lambeau Field. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. I know the Packers for a fact played in several other stadiums before Lambeau Field. And I looked it up. Hey, I do trivia. I look at numbers. I'm a little bit of it. I know. But I was like, this doesn't seem right. So it turns out the Packers moved to Lambeau Field in 1957. So just a couple of years before Vince Lombardi came along. Here's the trick of the question. And the guy, the dude is from the freaking Philippines, okay? Most of the staff was from the Philippines. They were great, awesome people. But this guy, I can assure you, he doesn't know a freaking thing about American sports. He only knows what people have told him, okay? He does not strike me as a sports guy at all, all right? He'd be more into the Broadway stuff and theater and that kind of thing. He's very flamboyant. Shall I put it that way? Yeah, and so what I found out was Soldier Field was built in the 20s. Here's the catch. The Bears did not move into Soldier Field until 1971. But they played at Wrigley Field for like 40 years. So it's a tricky question. Soldier Field is older, but Lambeau Field has been used longer by the NFL team. So just like Ted DiBiase, everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. All right, I will stop doing that. But yeah, so to me, the right thing would have been if you had Soldier Field or Lambeau Field, you get the question correct. But if, I was getting booed because I tried to correct them. Just a couple of drunk Cowboy fans, getting on me about it. So what are you gonna do? It's just, but again, I don't blame them really. I just think it was a bad question to put in there. It was a bad question because it's just too subjective. And that's basically it. That's all it's really about. Well, I'll tell you what. And again, the link is there in the chat. If anybody does want to hang out, anybody wants to come along and join the show tonight, you're more than welcome to. Grandizer, have the Jets and Giants always shared a stadium? Okay. So the Jets did not move to Giants Stadium until 1984. So there were a few years there where the Giants did not play in Shea Stadium. Okay. The Giants had Yankee Stadium, then they moved to Giants Stadium. And I think they had a little time in the Yale Bowl as well, in the middle there for a couple of years. So, yes. So, not sure the exact years. Let's see. Yeah, but definitely 1984. So the Giants played at the Polo Grounds from 1925 to 1955. So the Giants left the Polo Grounds before the Jets/Titans came along. Then they go to Yankee Stadium in 1956. Okay. So they go to Yankee Stadium in 56. And they're there until 1972. Then, yes, Yale Bowl, 1973, 1974. They did spend 1975 in Chase Stadium with the Jets. So 1975, they shared it. Then in 1976, they moved into Giants Stadium. And then it was 1984, so about 8 years later when the Jets joined. And the two teams, sadly, have been sharing the stadium ever since. So, yeah, so it wasn't just 84 on, also 1975 in Chase Stadium. Man, both teams were so horrible in the 70s that, like, nobody ever wants to talk about it. So I guess that's why it might not be very common knowledge. So there you go. So yeah, just a couple of things. I guess I'll just do a little bit of reflecting here, just on the year that's gone by in New York sports, and just some of the things that gone on. It's been a pretty crazy year. Rangers in hockey. Rangers won the President's Trophy, made it to the conference finals, and I actually moved to Raleigh in the midst of that Rangers Hurricane series. It was right after Game 2, I believe. I think it was right on Game 3. I was here for Game 4. I went to Game 4 and I was here just in time for Game 3 in Raleigh. So yeah, so that was pretty huge. Islanders made the playoffs, but the Hurricanes eliminated them. Knicks made the playoffs. Amazing series to start the year, to start off against Philadelphia, but by the time it became the Indiana series, they were just 2 beat up. Second straight year, they fall in the conference finals. I'll always feel like the Knicks were a better team than Indiana. And if Anunoby hadn't gotten hurt, they would have won that series. I'll always believe that. And it was a great year for baseball. Great year for this may have been the best year for New York baseball since 2000. 09, the Yankees won the World Series. But if you look at both teams, I'd say it's the best. I don't know how you could say it wasn't the best season in 24 years. Yankees win their division. A lot of people thought it would be a very tight race with them in Baltimore, but it was never really that close. I think the AL East was a very disappointing division. When you look at Baltimore, when you look at Toronto, I thought they really underachieved those two teams. And the one year with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto went very, very well. Yankees did what they had to do, winning their 2 series to get to the World Series before they just ran into a bust on the Dodgers. And with the Mets, I'll say this about the Mets because to me that's about the biggest story of the year because we didn't see it coming. We just did not see it coming. As we got about 21 minutes to go until the ball dropped. Oh my gosh! Did you all see that? This was great. So if you're a Yankees fan, I do apologize about this. But somebody put out, if you start Yankees-Dodgers Game 5 at such and such a time, the ball will drop at the same time Aaron Judge dropped that fly ball against the Dodgers. That's cold. But you know what? For the Yankee fans who did that to us after Luis Castillo, I guess it's just poetic justice. Poetic justice. That's about all I could say. But with the Mets, I thought the Mets would be about an 84-win team or so, especially once Kodai Senga went down. I didn't think they have the starting pitching to get through it. So if you're at 84 wins and they'd be the first team eliminated from the wild card race, I figured they'd be in the race but fall short. And up until the end of May, it looked like they were heading towards the absolute abyss. But, we know the deal. Jorge Lopez throws his glove into the stands, promptly gets released. Calls himself the worst teammate or the Mets the worst team, depending on what interpretation you believe. And the team just took off. June was amazing, typically a horrible month for the Mets. And they just kind of kept it on going all the way to the playoffs into game 161. The Hurricane, I believe that was Helene. Not Helene. What was the other? Yeah, the other Hurricane. No, Helene was Western North Carolina. Yeah, it was Helene. That hit Florida, Georgia, and into Western North Carolina. Caused the games to be postponed. We go to game 161, and it got made up at the end of the year as the Mets and Braves had to play that doubleheader. Winner went to the playoffs in game 1, and then game 2, the other team had a winner. They were going to be eliminated. Meanwhile, Arizona was just lurking in the background, hoping that one team would win both games so that they could find their way in the playoffs. And that game 161, what a game it was. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, culminating with the Francisco Lindor 2-run homer in game 161. And I still want to give credit to Starling Marte because he got on base to allow that game to keep going. And Edwin Diaz eventually does slam the door. Gave up the lead. Next inning comes back on, slams the door. Brandon Nimmo, I believe, had a huge home run in that game as well. There were so many details and so much has happened that I feel like game 161 is going to be kind of overlooked in Mets lore, but it really should be because it was just that good. It was just that amazing. But then the Mets were on their way to the playoffs in Milwaukee, a stadium I have been to a lot of times, and a stadium that the Mets have lost in a lot of times. Win game 1, drop game 2. We know the deal. 2-0. Brewers up. 9th inning. Mets get 2 on. Pete Alonso facing new Yankee Devin Williams, owner of one of the filthiest changeups in baseball. 1 out, and Alonso takes him to right field, deep, and the Mets go on to win. On to Philadelphia. They take out Philadelphia properly. I believe that was a 5-game series. So, culminating with the Lindor. And that game, oh my gosh, that Lindor game, we live streamed it. We basically kind of watched it, and I had a Stone Cold Steve Austin beer celebration that night. That was a rather crazy night. That was fun. As I took the 2 beers outside on the porch, and boy, there was a lot of screaming going on. What an amazing game that was. Couldn't quite get past the Dodgers. Fell to them in 6 games, but Dodgers just had a little bit deeper lineup, deeper pitching staff. It was a hell of a run with the Grimace, the OMG, and all that. And as exciting as that was, football has been that bad. I didn't expect anything from the Giants this year. I figured maybe about 5 wins, something like that. But not much else. I just didn't have confidence in Daniel Jones. I didn't think the defense was good enough. I like the addition of Brian Burns, but I didn't believe in Kayvon Thibodeau from the I just felt he was going to be inconsistent, and that has pretty much proven to be true. And losing Saquon Barkley, I didn't feel like they replaced him. Offensive line still had too many questions outside of Andrew Thomas, who got hurt. Dexter Lawrence, maybe the best offensive tackle in football. He eventually gets hurt. And the Giants just haven't had that other weapon really emerge. I mean, Malik Neighbors, he's going to be great. But you know what? He's still prone to drops, to making mistakes. He's still learning how to be a receiver in the NFL. Tight end position. Nothing to talk about. Darren Waller, remember, his Giants career is going to be a footnote in his life. He retired out of nowhere. So, very disappointing year for the Giants, but there may not be a bigger disappointment in sports than the Jets. There may not be. Maybe right now the 76ers, they're turning around a little bit. The New York Rangers, I would put them basically right up there. I think they're right there with anybody. I think it's really the Jets and the Rangers. And you can make an argument for either team. So, quick question from Grandizer. Do you have a favorite New Year's Eve fun memory, and how do you rank these the holiday? Well, Grandizer, I told some of the folks earlier when I was a senior in high school, a bunch of us drove down from Chicago to Orlando. 2 15-seat passenger vans, 30 of us, a week's worth of luggage for everybody. Went to Disney World, had an amazing time. Had a big bonfire on New Year's Eve night. So sparkling cider, s'mores, all that good stuff. And again, we were in high school, so we weren't going to be drinking alcohol. So it was a supervised trip. Can I put it that way? But that was a really good memory. I don't. Should I tell the costume party story? Nah, I'm going to save the costume party story. I need it for a bigger audience, and to be honest, if I did it, I'd probably get canceled. So let's just say that was there was a costume party that was particularly memorable. I just don't think I can spill the beans and details. That one, I got to keep it a little bit quiet. There are pictures, but they are not on social media for a reason. But as far as ranking the Christmas, Halloween, New Year's Eve is not too much of a big deal for me. Never really has been. To me, it's just another day, and it's just, change your calendar. And never been a big resolution guy. Last couple of years, I've started setting goals for the year, trying to do a few of those. And I try to put them in different parts of my life, whether it's social, physical, spiritual, mental, whatever it may be. I try to do like 4, 5, 6 goals, something like that. So that's probably one thing I'll do tomorrow is think about that a little bit. Because as opposed to like a resolution, So, but I never say New Year's resolution because it just feels so fleeting. So, yeah, but one of them was to get out of debt, which I did a couple of years ago to pay off my student loans, and I did that. Didn't need anybody paying it off for me. I actually did it. So that's just one example. I think races are going to be a goal this year. Right now, I have a goal to run. Don't know if I got it in me, but I do have a goal next September to run a 10-mile race in Virginia Beach. I haven't quite signed up for the race yet, but that is something that I am thinking about right around Labor Day. I've never done 10 miles. The longest I've never done is 6.25. So that would be a huge, huge goal. And there's a couple other things there too. I want to say, Grandizer, anybody else is hanging out, feel free to drop a comment, drop a question. Feel free to join. Got about 13, 14 minutes until the ball drops. And we welcome in 2025. When it was the late 70s, I had older cousins who would go to the discos here, play disco music, dancing with them, and people come to the New Year's Eve party. My aunt went, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we had a nice disco party on the cruise. Oh yeah. We had a Mardi Gras party. We had a disco party. Oh yeah. And as soon as Bee Gees, not that the Bee Gees are disco, they're not. Like Casey and the Sunshine Band, that's disco. The Tramps with Disco Inferno, that's disco. I don't know if the Bee Gees were a disco band. I never have. But as soon as I hear any of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, I'm balling out. I love it. Love this. Even though that album came out before I was born, I still love that music. So it was really fun. Maybe some of the vibe stuck out. Maybe because everyone that I can recall was alive. Yeah, guys, just think about this. In about 15 minutes, we're going to be as close to 2050 as we are to the year 2000. In the year 2000. So, yeah, if you want to feel old, hopefully that'll help you. But I think about this whole season with the Jets, coming off another disappointing year where when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, deep down we knew that the season was over as far as the purpose we had for it because we thought it was a Super Bowl caliber team. At that point, you pretty much had to be hoping to just be in wild card contention. And of course, that would not be the case. And then the team retooled a little bit. A couple of the stiffs from last year were gone. Some of the old Rodgers cronies were put over to the side. And some moves were made, some good, some not so good. The defensive line took a step back. But one issue was the injuries. You got to remember, last year, the defense never really had to deal with injuries. Sauce, Carter, Reed, JJ, Quinton, they were almost never hurt. This year, all of them were hurt. And the defense suffered as a result. But the offensive line was far better this year than it was last year, I think, especially once Tyron Smith went to the bench. The running back room was better. I mean, last year we had freaking Dalvin Cook on this team. But something's never changed. The tight end position never got better. All right, we didn't make any changes to tight end, and we needed to. We brought in the backup quarterback that we needed to do. But what you couldn't count on was certain things just going downhill, that Greg Zuerlein would regress the way he did. You couldn't count on Tyron Smith regressing as a pass blocker the way he did. Tyron Smith was a very good run blocker for the Jets, but no lineman allowed more pressures or took more penalties than he did while he was active. And that was devastating. Again, go back to the Denver game. That's all you need to know. Devastated them. They lost that game by 1 point to a team that's probably going to make the playoffs, and a game that I screamed about. I actually screamed at the time that Denver was a bottom 5 team in terms of talent in the NFL. Because let's think about it. Outside of Patrick Surtain, who do the Broncos have that you would call like a top 5 player in their position in the NFL? Guys like Benito, Cooper as pass rushers, they're emerging. I give them some credit. But who on that offense scares you? Who? Cortland Sutton, please. There's plenty of Cortland Suttons around the NFL. Javonte Williams is always hurt. Is Bo Nix really that good? I'm not sold on him yet. I'm just not. But that game turned out to be sort of the beginning of the end. I don't think they ever recovered because Rodgers got the living hell beaten out of him in that game. And he was hurt for like 2 months after that. Sucks, man. It just sucks. Man. Grandizer, did you get a chance to see the Cards-Rams game? Yeah, Michael Carter got playing time. Yeah, I did watch some of it. Wasn't there a time when he was a Jet star running back? Sure was, yeah. A couple years right before they drafted Brees, Michael Carter was their leading running back, and he was good. He was a good rookie. He was not great. He was a good running back, and then they upgraded to great. And I didn't love the Brees Hall trade at the time. One, I didn't want to trade for a running back. And two, I don't think I really grasped the idea of going from good to great. I was like, well, address where you're bad. I mean, we don't need to address a running back this good. There's plenty of other running backs we could get later who'll be fine. But it turned out to be a very good move. And Brees hadn't had the best year, I would argue. I think some of that is on blocking, for sure. Some of that is on scheming, the fact that Brees doesn't really get a chance to run the ball. There has not been a single game this year where they have told Brees Hall, you're going to be the workhorse of this offense. Hadn't happened one time yet. There has not been a game this year where Brees Hall has had 20 rushes with the ball. That is nuts. You could also blame Aaron Rodgers for that a little bit. You could. Because we know he likes to audible. We know that. But yeah, Michael Carter, I like Michael Carter a lot. But he wound up into like some fights with the coaches, like some arguments with his coaches. And he just never seemed to get better. It's like he had a good rookie year, then he just had a slow decline. And again, he didn't play all year. This was the first game that he played. The first game he played was when the team was when they were eliminated and James Conner was hurt. That's when Michael Carter got his opportunity to play for Arizona. That's the truth of it. And I'll tell you one thing. This is the last week of confidence picks. This is going to be brutal. Trying to pick these games. Because think about it. So many teams have clinched their seat in the playoffs. So many of them have. Like at least 5, 6. Kansas City has. Buffalo has. Houston has. On the other side, we know Detroit, Minnesota, they're competing. Philly, I believe, did. Who's the other team? So, yeah, I don't know who else has. Green Bay, I believe, probably has clinched the 6th. I think Green Bay's clinched. There's a lot of teams who have clinched the playoff spot and clinched theirs. About 5, 6 of them already. Quite a bit. So there's not a whole lot of playoff spots left. And what it means is a lot of teams will be probably resting players. They've already said, Buffalo's already said, Josh Allen will get very limited playing time against New England. Very, very little. So it's a situation where you look at the coaches, you look at the depth. It's going to be a rough week. This is a week where if you go 500 or better picking games, you're happy and you run for the hills. You just don't want to lose the big ones where you have a lot of confidence. Like right now, if I had to pick a best bet without having done research, I'll probably do a bunch of it tomorrow. Probably Baltimore would be the team that I would say, yeah, they'll win against Cleveland. Just to because they have a division to clinch. I can't imagine they lose to Cleveland. I'm fairly confident that that's going to happen. Yep, 10 minutes and counting. Yeah, now we're down to about 5 and counting. I never got the Carter trade with – so Michael Carter the second's the cornerback. Michael Carter is the running back. I thought the Jets were moving to be super run heavy. Yeah, but then you get Aaron Rodgers. When you have Aaron Rodgers, that's the way it's going to go. 2/3 of your play is going to be passes, even if it doesn't make sense to. And that's what. And after Adams and Wilson, what were we looking at? Alan Lazard, Ty Conklin, Xavier Gibson. Jeremy freaking Ruckert, a little bit of Brees Hall. If we look, actually, I'm going to look at my stat real quick. Hey, guys, thanks for hanging with me tonight, by the way. I definitely appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you back tomorrow night, too. I'm going to look up quickly Jets receptions. I'm going to look up targets. Okay, if we look at Jets targets this year, Garrett Wilson has the most, 149. Devontae Adams, 102, which makes sense because he's played 6 less games. After that, Breece Hall, 71. Tyler Conklin, 69. Allen Lazard, 57. Jeremy Rucker, 26. Man, oh man. I look at some of the, Mike Williams had 21 in 9 games. Malachi Corley still has only 6, which makes me sick. Yeah. You know, one thing this team doesn't necessarily have is a real field stretcher. Somebody who could really, really go deep. Yeah, I felt like Gibson just did not become that guy. Brownlee, he hasn't appeared at all. So, yeah. This just hasn't worked out. I still think a lot of this is coaching. I will still shout this. I'll continue to shout amongst all criticism from Jet fans, from content creators, whoever else. The Jets had a good enough roster. The coaching was garbage. They did not know how to use their talent. They did not put them in enough positions to succeed. And I've wound up in some arguments with some people over the last couple of days. To the point where one person said, you should just go root for wherever Jim Douglas is next year. F off. You're not going to tell me who to root for, okay? You don't tell anybody who to root for, who not to root for. That's up to each individual. But show me the next general manager who's going to do as good of a job as Joe Douglas did acquiring talent. Did he make mistakes this year? Absolutely. Did he make draft mistakes over the years? Absolutely. Show me the GM who didn't. The JFM trade, stupid trade. The Son Reddick trade, it wouldn't have been as bad if he didn't go back on his word and was actually in camp, getting in shape. It was actually there. That trade might have looked a little bit better. They posted a stat on Garrett Wilson. He has 2 or 3 years of 1,000 yards receiving, a first in Jets history. Not quite. So Garrett Wilson has 3 consecutive years of 1,000 yards receiving. The last Jet receiver to do that was George Sauer from 1966 to 1968. And George Sauer's dad was a GM in the NFL. I think he was a GM for the Patriots. He was an executive with the Patriots. But yeah, Maynard didn't do it. Walker, Toon, Coles, Krebet. Keyshawn. None of those guys did it. So it's a pretty exceptional stat. Decker, Marshall. Yeah. That's right. Don't tell me I'm fan because I'm right on my takes. Damn it. All right. So, yeah. They never did. Toon dealt with injuries. And Krebet, to me, I always compare Wade Krebet to Eric Decker. They play a little different style, but they're both very good receivers, but they're very good receivers when they have somebody on the other side of them. And Keyshawn, you had Curtis Martin running the ball. So that took a few targets away from Keyshawn and Krebet. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, with this offensive coordinator, God only knows. They probably would have used Curtis Martin 15 times a game and glued his ass to the bench. Oh, my God. Oh, let's see here. It's 11:58. Let's see. Clock. Let's pull the clock up here. Wish I had display on here, but I don't. Roll clock. Okay, just over 1 minute. Yep, Keyshawn, Krebet. Yep, they had Vinny. Yep. Okay, guys, we have 1 minute to go till midnight. Here we go. All right. Just here, quiet. Yeah, just a very quiet studio apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah, bring in the ladies. Right. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't gotten the call from the pimp on when they'll be arriving, but I'm expecting any minute now. Hope they don't take the stairs. I'm sure those high heels will be murder on their feet. All right. We got 20 seconds to go. Got a thing to pop up when it starts. Here we go. Now the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year from watching K99 to the New York Sports WickerMedia family. Should all acquaintance, do we forget acquaintances? Whatever the stupid song is about. All right, so there we go, and here we are in Times Square. Hey, check that out. My logo wound up in Times Square, right above the McDonald's. I wonder how that happened. All right, so happy 2025 to you and to yours. Hope everybody has a great rest of your night. Yep, have your favorite cold beverage. Have your favorite meal tomorrow. You know, put a good book, jerk off, whatever you got to do to make yourself happy. Go ahead and do it. All right, so guys, I'm going to wind down. I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. We'll talk a little bit about the Jets head coaching search, where that's going early on. We'll do a brief recap of the Buffalo game, but it will not be long. And tomorrow we'll do some trivia. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll spin the wheel. I really feel like spinning the wheel tomorrow because we're going to need to have a little bit of fun. But everybody, 2024 was a fantastic year, and I have you to thank for that. Let's make 2025 a better year for you. I'm going to make it a better one for me as well. Be trying to be a better guy than I was in 2024, because we could all be a little bit better. So, yeah, do we forget old acquaintances and old lang syne? Yes, this is right out of When Harry Met Sally. That's all I can think of. Yeah, I don't know. That if one song needs to be modernized, that's it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Happy 2025. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow night, on Wednesday night, from you know where, the Wicker Chair. Good night, everybody.